What do you think of when you hear the words roller coaster? Do you think of old school trains rumbling violently up and down giant wooden structures, or modern sleek steel ribbons in the sky held up by long thin pillars of metal and concrete? Do you picture gliding gracefully up and down carefully designed airtime hills and vertical loops, or turbulently being tossed and turned on insane, merciless camelback hills and barrel rolls? These rides are capable of all these things and more. As the design capabilities of roller coasters evolve from the basic up and down, out and back layouts of history, the companies designing the rides were forced to innovate and adapt to set their product apart from their competitors. In this way, each successful roller coaster company has carved out its respective niche in the industry, and each unsuccessful company has failed to do so and found itself relegated to the annals of history as a result. When I started this script, I thought it would be a quick countdown list, but as I got about a third of the way through, I realized I have a lot to say about these companies. So for the sake of keeping this video at a reasonable length, I'm going to split it into 2 or 3 parts. Over the course of this series, I want to talk to you about some of the most prominent roller coaster manufacturers and designers, how their sort of DNA has developed, and how the rides that they manufacture set themselves apart from the rest. This is part 1 of Roller Coaster Companies Explained. I'm Josef. Welcome to the Vertical Drop Viking. Before we dive into the good companies on our list, let's start with this episode's dishonorable mention. The Roller Coaster Corporation of America is a company that built 7 coasters over its 24-year lifespan, and none of them are good. Their calling card is bad, shaky, and unreliable wooden coasters. Their first foray into the industry brought us Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, a daring design that featured both a dive off of and a subsequent tunnel into the wall of the rock quarry that Fiesta, Texas was built within. It was known for being one of the roughest coasters in the world, and its fate is one we'll have to discuss a little later on in the video. After 3 similarly subpar offerings overseas, their next coaster in the United States was Kings Island's infamous Son of Beast. For a deeper story on that, you can check out my 10 coaster fails video that I did a while back. But the short of it is that this thing got torn apart 3 times in the 9 years that it operated, and was torn down completely 3 years after that. Out of their 7 coasters, only 3 still stand. We'll save the next dishonorable mention for part 2, so make sure you like and subscribe if you want to tell YouTube and me that I'm doing a good job. Let's start off with the Woodies. There are several companies that are known for making wooden coasters and only wooden coasters. Philadelphia Toboggan Company, the Din Corporation, Custom Coasters International or CCI, Great Coasters International or GCI, and the Gravity Group, being the most notable. The limitations of wooden coasters leads all of these to have a somewhat similar style, airtime focused with tight sweeping curves, big camelback hills in the first half of the layout, and smaller speed hills and bunny hops in the back half. Many of these coasters fall into either an out and back or twister category. Out and back coasters travel mostly in a straight line out to a turnaround or helix, and then the return trip runs parallel to the first straight line, before either a second turn or a helix returns the train to the station. Twister coasters typically have less hills, but are chock full of turns, S-curves, and helices, and are more focused on lateral and positive Gs than a typical out and back. They also tend to have unique footprints compared to out and back coasters, necessitated by their twisting, turning nature. The 5 coaster manufacturers I listed before are all known for making a variety of these rides at various thrill levels, and the only real discernible differences between them are how rough they run when they open and how well they stand the test of time. PTC and CCI are known for making the classics. GCI formed from the ashes of CCI's bankruptcy and is known for curving drops, as well as inventing a metal replacement track for wooden coasters known as Titan Track. Gravity Group, another company founded by former CCI employees, is arguably the most consistent of the five, delivering 25 of the best wooden coasters in the world over the last 20 years, with only one closing as of this year, and that being due to the park itself closing around it in August of 2025. Din Corporation's rides, although held to be wonderful when they first opened, are known among the five to have the least longevity. Many of these rides have been converted into new rides altogether by our next entry on this list. No matter which of the five companies made the ride, you can expect an experience defined by airtime, lateral g-forces, and a variable degree of shakiness due to the swelling and contracting of the wood itself. Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, is a relative newcomer to the ride design and manufacturing industry, being founded in 2001. Their claim to fame is their iBox technology, eschewing the tubular steel design pioneered by our next entry in favor of a track shaped like a construction girder, with the up-stop wheels rolling between the top and bottom flanges. They broke into the industry by taking old, rough, and unpopular wooden coasters, most but not all constructed by either the aforementioned Roller Coaster Corporation of America or Din Corporation, ripping out the old wooden laminate track and installing a whole new ride on the wooden lattice using their iBox track. This allows for insanely rapid-fire elements, inversions, and unique hang time experiences, and insane amounts of airtime, all of which no other ride manufacturer has been able to reproduce. They've completed 14 of these conversions, and have built a total of 15 coasters from the ground up. Besides their iBox track, they've also pioneered a direct metal replacement for old laminate wooden track called Topper Track, a direct competitor to GCI's Titan track that I mentioned before, and a new single-rail technology called Raptor Track, which is reminiscent of the old single-rail steeplechase designs, but with long, single-row trains and inversions. Despite the growing popularity of these new models, the iBox remains their signature model, and if you're going to get on one, you can safely expect intense, rapid-fire airtime and inversions with relatively mild positive g-forces. RMC's iBox track design can be seen as a rejection of the tubular steel track design, wherein two equidistant tubes of steel are the point of contact for all three of the train's wheel assemblies on each side. This technology was invented by a company called Aero Development while working with Disney on the very first steel roller coaster, Matterhorn bobsleds. Aero Development would be purchased by flat ride developer Hoos in 1981, but would promptly file for bankruptcy in 1985, giving way to the rise of the successor company, Aerodynamics. In spite of this changing of hands, Aero's legacy is typically looked at as one long story, and their calling card is innovation and experimentation. This has led to wildly varying outcomes over the years. Their innovations from 1968 to 1975 revived the concept of a roller coaster inversion, building the first roller coaster element to take riders upside down in 72 years, and the first one that anybody actually enjoyed. In the wake of their success with the first corkscrew model, they then proceeded to dominate the looping coaster market for the next 20 years. They also were famous for the runaway mine train style coaster, which featured less on vertical drops and more on banked turns, helices, and near-miss elements, with sections of straight track typically breaking these elements up. They were the first to successfully build a coaster where the riders are situated below the track with their suspended coaster model, which would go on to inspire future designers to pioneer the inverted coaster model, which is still wildly popular to this day. Aero was also known for creating water rides, such as the Log Flume and the Shoot the Chute. Their invention of the Hyper Coaster in the late 1980s would revolutionize the industry, and is commonly accepted as the opening shot of the so-called Coaster Wars, the competition between amusement parks to build the tallest, fastest, longest, and steepest roller coaster that still continues to this day. Finally, shortly before their bankruptcy and subsequent purchase by the next entry on this list, they invented the Fourth Dimension coaster, where riders are situated on either side of the track, and the ride vehicles are designed to rotate riders on the pitch axis, even when the track and the train don't actually go upside down. Now, these innovations didn't come without their fair share of failures, but Aero had a habit of learning from their mistakes as they went along, and continuing forward in spite of their defeats, without a loss of enthusiasm. No matter what kind of Aero you're about to ride, you can expect the profiling and banking to be as far from smooth or graceful as you can get, and that can be a positive or a negative depending on who you ask. After Aero finally went bankrupt in 2001, its assets and intellectual property were sold to S&S, an upstart ride designer from Utah who had recently hired many of the former employees of CCI. Before they started this rush of acquisitions, S&S was known for pneumatically powered rides, which are machines that use compressed air to move ride vehicles rapidly. They began with flat rides. Space Shot and Turbo Drop are two of their most well-known flat rides, and a pair of each make up both halves of the Power Tower at Cedar Point. After the success of this model, they invented the Screamin' Swing, my personal favorite flat ride ever. They entered the coaster market with the Thrust Air model, the most notable example for English-speaking enthusiasts being the Hypersonic XLC at King's Dominion. These coasters failed, but would go on to inspire the relatively successful Air Launch model. After their hiring of the CCI expats and their acquisition of Aero, S&S began constructing coasters using the original Aero concepts, reviving the fourth dimension coaster model from the dead, and also pioneering the vertically stacked free spin variant of the 4D coaster. But S&S seemed to inherit more than just Aero's designs, but also their innovative spirit. Today, S&S is known, like Aero, for taking chances and coming up with imaginative new ride designs, such as the El Loco, the Screamin' Squirrel, and the Axis coaster prototype. Like their predecessor, S&S regularly faces the risk of trying something nobody's ever done before, and these risks come with their fair share of failures. But S&S is still a competitive force in the market today. In a way, S&S keeps not only Aero's designs alive, but their spirit and ethos as well. That's all for part 1. If you like this dive into the DNA of different coaster designers, make sure to subscribe so I can invade your homepage with part 2 next week. We'll be heading across the sea and talking about Gerstlauer, Intamin, and Bolliger and Mabillard. Thank you for watching my video. I have been Josef, Vertical Drop Viking out.